It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger? Game! Series! Toronto has won! Fourth-quarter points by Kawhi Leonard. And the game winner, 41 points.
And welcome into Views from the Sideline. As you can see, it's just me and Malik today. Chris, he apparently had to be a good student and studying for some tests and some quizzes, so it can't be too hard on him.
Yeah, he took his name out of the draft. He's staying in school. He's not good enough yet. He has to keep developing.
Yeah, but that was a soundbite from Raptors-Sixers Game 7, and holy moly, to see Kawhi Leonard put up a shot like that and for it to bounce twice, jeez, that was incredible.
I can't put into words how impressive that game is to me, honestly, because the amount of shots he had to take, and it's not like, I'm kind of down in Russell Westbrook, but it's not like Russell Westbrook where there are times where Russell Westbrook doesn't have to take all the shots he takes. He doesn't just stick to the flow of the game. If it gets to like a tight game or a game 7, he doesn't just go through the flow of a game. He just says, I'm taking over, and that's it.
That's right.
Kawhi Leonard was playing team basketball, and they just kept giving it back to him with like 10 seconds left on the shot clock, and they just said, go Kawhi, do it.
Sometimes that's what you got to do with your best player.
Yeah, he didn't start very well. He started slow, but I think he just missed like one shot in the fourth quarter. Yeah, he was just in a different type of zone, and he's a machine. It's ridiculous. He showed emotion after hitting that shot. A very rare moment. We're seeing a new Kawhi.
Yeah,
and I love what I'm seeing from him.
It's very interesting to see. And now we get to see him against Giannis. So now it's kind of like a battle of kind of the best players in the East, which is kind of cool to see. But we'll get into that a little bit later. We'll go through all the games that happened over the weekend, stuff like that, and what to look forward to ahead of time. But yesterday, with heavy hearts, we found out that John Beilein is leaving the Michigan Wolverines basketball program. Spartan fans everywhere are rejoicing at the notion. And he is joining the Cleveland Cavaliers of all teams.
Really good pickup, honestly. Good move by Dan Gilbert and that organization.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And his name has been thrown around the past couple off seasons, and especially like last year when the Pistons were mentioned, we were like, there's no way John Beilein's leaving. Apparently he was serious, and he was smart for not taking the Pistons job because he's got nothing to work with. And now he's going to a Cavs team that's super young. They have a bright young point guard, I think, in Colin Sexton. And they got some talent that's getting there. And they'll have a good shot at tonight's draft lottery. And hopefully the draft lottery will start by the end of this show. Hopefully they don't talk on and on and on. But hopefully we'll be able to provide everyone with at least the first pick, which is probably the most important in this draft. Who gets Zion? And you never know who's going to get it. But Malik, what's your thoughts on Beilein leaving?
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I wish that could just be
I should have brought that up ahead of time.
Yeah,
I forgot about it.
When I first got the news, I didn't want to believe it. I'm still recovering. Although I'm not as sad as I was a few days ago. I'm all right. I feel like we can still get a good replacement, maybe. But we got to see how it goes. I mean,
Right.
John Beilein has never coached outside of college. He's jumping to the NBA. He's one of the best teachers in the game. He's one of the best developers of talent in the game. So from that standpoint, them bringing him in to rebuild the Cavaliers is not a bad idea. It's a pretty good hire for a guy that does what they need a coach to do for that Cavaliers team. This coaching search, man, Michigan fans are throwing out every name they can find.
Because how do you replace a guy like Beilein who's
He was the Michigan
he's
coach.
became such an icon in college basketball
Yes.
to work his way up, and he's dominated in every way. Like, he's gone through high school, junior college, D3, D2, D1, and now he's going to take on the NBA. It's kind of hard as a Michigan fan to see such a talented team coming from previous season's national championship attempt, and then having a solid team, solid core this year with multiple guys now leaving, and now the biggest vacancy, John Beilein, to leave. It's got to be hard for Michigan fans and even maybe players on the team now. Like, they expected John Beilein to be there and to develop them. Now they have to, restart. Are they going to bring somebody in that has that same feel or runs a similar offense, or are they going to completely change everything up? And then that would change everything, how they're going to recruit, how they're going to run their offenses.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big, crazy change, and I'm not really sure where it's going to lead.
Yeah, he just brought in his second best recruiting class
Right.
out of all of his years
Right.
in Michigan. He has a whole bunch of guys that are becoming sophomores and guys that are coming in as redshirt freshmen this season. And he brought in a 5-star guy from Texas and Jalen Wilson and another guy from Seattle and Cole Bahima. This was going to be another John Beilein example of taking young guys and maybe they start off slow and then they become something in March. But now, with this coaching search, this could go really bad, or a knockout hire is really unlikely to me at this point. For me, Billy Donovan is what I want. That would be the knockout hire, but I don't know if he wants to leave the NBA, although college is where he needs to be. But I don't know if he wants to leave the NBA. He probably still is he feels like he probably still has some unfinished business. He wants to win, whether it's with OKC or not. That may be a thing. They're saying Juwan Howard, which he's a Michigan man. He knows the university, but never coached in a college. Never been a head coach in the NBA, so that would be more of an experiment. I heard of Rick Pitino today.
Please don't.
This is known as one of the cleanest programs in the country.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
He's proven himself as a coach,
Yeah.
but outside the game, I don't know if, like you're saying, a team like Michigan with such a clean track record to bring that kind of thing in, it just seems too risky.
Rick, stay overseas, or I wish he would have got the UNLV job because that would have been magic. Him meshing with that old dirty program. So honestly, at this point, I feel like the best fit at this point, if they just move Sadie Washington up to the head coach, I feel like things would just run not the same because it would be without John Beilein, but Sadie has been his main recruiter. Sadie has been in the system. He knows what Beilein does. He knows what's expected. He knows the type of players that are needed for that system. And he knows how the program runs. So if you moved up Sadie, then you make Luke Yaklich the associate head coach. You keep almost the same staff. I don't think there would be that much of a difference.
Right. It would definitely make
Yeah.
a smoother transition. I think.
Exactly.
And that's the kind of the thing is, like, are they going to go for the smooth transition, or are they going to go for a John Harbaugh? And they're going to go for the flashing lights, and that's just what I'm nervous about.
I honestly feel like the way Ward Manuel is talking right now, who's Michigan's athletic director, he's not sounding very positive about this coaching search right now. He's saying things like, this isn't great timing. And like he mentioned that a lot of coaches, usually new coaches come in between like the end of April and the beginning of May, which most of the new coaches, they were coaching fires and hires all between that point from like April 20th to like the beginning of May. Yeah, this puts him in a position where he has to start scrambling for positions. And it's not hard to find a great coach like in spring or going into the summer.
And especially for somebody that would want to coach for this program.
Exactly. This might be the most attractive job that's open right now. And there would be many, I'm assuming there are high caliber coaches that are entertaining this job and coming in for interviews right at this moment. But yeah, for a smooth transition and for just if you want the program to look the same and for things to just keep going the way they were, I think Sadie Washington might be the smartest move, but I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna go. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. I feel like they should go for the smooth transition, especially with like a lot of that same core. Now, if they were to get somebody uh maybe starting next year or the year following, once they've like kind of rotated recruiting classes out somewhat, um maybe over time you kind of swap that out and change the dynamic of the team. But I think for right now, at least, it would be best to keep it the way it is.
That would probably keep a lot of guys from leaving. Maybe.
Right.
Yeah, they all know Sadie. Sadie helped bring in this last class and the last few classes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's the other thing you got to keep in mind is that these guys that committed to Michigan were thinking John Beilein is going to be their
John
coach.
Beilein and this staff,
Right,
everything
and
that
that's
goes-
that's
yeah.
what they came there for. Now it's going to change a little bit. So hopefully everybody sticks around and keeps it pretty simple. Another coaching change that happened that is probably just as surprising, honestly, but we've heard little rumblings about him getting an interview. The Lakers' head coaching job was still open, and they interviewed Frank Vogel. I think we had mentioned it last week on the show that he was going to get an interview, that he was one of the running candidates. But I don't
I
think
saw he was the 5th or 6th listed
yeah,
candidate.
I don't think
pretty much.
anybody expected him to get the job. So Frank Vogel is head coach, and they put Jason Kidd assigned to assistant coach,
Oh,
surprising the
The-
entire nation on that one.
what is the point of all of this? It's
I'm
yeah.
not really sure. And the only thing that I've heard is that they like Frank Vogel because LeBron respects the man for what he did with Indiana, taking LeBron to 6 games twice on the Heat. And then they also took him to a game 7 as Indiana, which Indiana had less talent. I think Indiana was a little bit underrated still, but obviously when you have Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James, you're always going to be under-talented comparatively. But supposedly LeBron respects him. Something that you mentioned, though, beforehand was, are they going to get along? Yeah, they can. You can have respect for somebody,
Exactly.
but not get along or not like them.
exactly this. I honestly I don't see this meshing well. This working would be one of the biggest surprises of next NBA season. And then you hire Jason Kidd as the assistant, who obviously is going to gun for the head coaching job. Jason Kidd doesn't want to be an assistant under Frank
Right.
Vogel. I think everybody knows that. So, yeah, after the Ty Lue thing fell through, I knew this would just be a mess from then on because it seems like Jeannie Buss, she just is hell-bent on being in control no matter what. But then you bring in the expertise of Kurt Rambis, who hasn't really ever been a success coaching-wise.
Expertise.
Exactly. I heard Phil Jackson had some say. I don't know where
It's
this
the
is
Lakers'
going.
way of just, they just listen to former Lakers
Exactly.
and they just take their word on it. And the weirdest thing is just Frank Vogel he's a very strategic coach. He's kind of he lays out the X's and O's. I don't think there's a lot of X's and O's to LeBron's offense. We've talked about it before in length, where it's just you get shooters to surround LeBron. You let him do what he wants to do. He'll kick it out when he needs to, and they just have to knock down shots. There's not a lot to it. There's not this dynamic formula that they need Frank Vogel to do, and I don't see him being some big players coach or something. Like these guys, there's a lot of young guys on this team with a lot of different personalities, and I don't know. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
It really doesn't. And honestly, LeBron James, we all know how smart he is, and we saw even in Cleveland, they had set plays that they ran at certain times, but it's because they had a specific set of players that fit certain skill sets around LeBron that all worked perfectly and meshed together. Frank Vogel has a certain cast of players that works for him. LeBron James has a certain cast of players that works for him. Those are two completely different casts.
Yep.
And now you just have to figure out a way to mesh them together somehow. Question marks.
Good luck.
Nothing but dots and question marks for me.
Unless they magically get this number 1 pick, I guess. You would like that, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you, Malik?
Man, I hope they fall apart. I want to see the Lakers go down for. I want them to almost. They'll never go down as bad as Philly because the NBA won't let that happen. But let's have a 4 or 5 year run of just mediocrity and some suckish years. I want to see it because I feel like through all of these moves and just it's just a cockiness with this organization from top to bottom of we're the Lakers. We'll figure it out no matter what. It doesn't matter.
And this has turned out just to be just like their free agency goes.
Exactly.
They have all these top candidates to say that, okay, this guy's going to be our coach. This guy's going to be our coach. They end up going with their 5th, 6th option. They've been doing that with their free agents the last couple of years. They haven't been able to get a superstar. Like they thought Paul George was going to for sure be a Laker. And now I don't even really hear a whole lot of the Lakers getting any of these free agents now.
And I guarantee if Jeannie Buss was interviewed right now, she would give another carbon copy delusional answer.
Right.
Of we have LeBron, we know what we want, and we're gonna get it. We like Frank Vogel. Like, come on, Jeannie. We've heard you lie to the media before.
The only thing that they've even said that even would make slight sense is that they think that they're gonna get Kyrie Irving.
I don't think it's a chance of that happening.
I don't think that's happening either, but
Exactly.
I would say that's the most likely thing that they could get, and I don't even think it's going to happen.
It's just another extended part of a somewhat plan
Right.
of it's going to work out somehow. We'll get somebody.
It just goes to show, just because you have LeBron doesn't mean you're going to get free agents.
I feel bad for Laker Nation, but that organization, Steve Ballmer is laughing and drinking champagne with his buddies right now.
That's the best part about
all I'll
it.
say.
That's the best part about it, though.
Clipper Nation is
Clippers
so
are on the
happy.
rise. The Lakers are falling apart. That's great to see.
And by Clipper Nation, I mean Billy Crystal, because I don't know Clippers fans besides Billy Crystal.
There's really not a whole lot besides that.
Exactly. Fans show up, but I don't know them.
Yeah. It's probably because it's LA. Got to spend your money somehow.
Exactly.
Anyway, so there's a little bit of a coaching carousel going on. Probably a few more head coaching jobs that could open up or maybe will be filled within, who knows? I don't know. Anyway, let's get back into the games. Let's first talk about Warriors-Rockets Game 6. The game the Rockets needed to win, obviously, because they were down, but more so
the series
for
that
their pride.
was definitely going 7. This was the one that was a sure 7-game series, right?
Yeah. KD's out. The Rockets are rolling.
This is
They're
the
ready to
chance.
go.
You got James Harden, the potential MVP.
You hold Steph Curry to 0 points in the first half. Going into halftime, you got to feel great. You got to think, okay,
It's all working.
we got a chance.
Yeah.
We can do this. And then it all fell apart.
Play
and
that noise again. Wah, wah,
And
wah.
the Warriors just all of a sudden decided to say, hey, Houston.
Listen, I somewhat predicted it. I didn't know it would happen like this, but I said, with KD out, Steph and Clay know what they have to do. And when they're locked in together, there's nothing you can do, especially when you're the Rockets and you lose to them every other year. James Harden says he knows how to play the Warriors.
I haven't seen it.
You don't know how to play the Warriors, James, because
He had another inefficient game in
exactly
Game 6 in a big-time
and
game.
he came up extremely small and made several mistakes in the last few minutes of the fourth quarter.
And you can't say any, like, before in the first couple games, you're like, okay, well, Chris Paul didn't play very well.
Chris Paul played
Game
great
6,
this
he
game.
played great.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough.
It's never enough.
Steph Curry scored 33 in the second
In
half.
the second half.
All in the second half. And somehow people still doubt the Warriors.
That's why I feel like Game of Zones has to be
Yeah.
referenced right now because they're cartoons of the Rockets and Mark D'Antoni saying double the offense. no defense. This is exactly what Mark D'Antoni is. This is what he's always been. You don't change anything that you get to guard Steph or Clay. You change nothing. No double teams. They can't depend on Draymond for offense. Andre Iguodala hits a three every now and then. Sean Livingston has pretty much been a ghost all series. But you just guard them regularly, like you always have.
Do you know who PJ Tucker was guarding in Game 6?
I didn't see the game, so
Okay.
yeah, you got to tell me.
Because I don't know either. But that's what I'm curious about, because I bet you it wasn't Klay Thompson.
It was probably Draymond for some odd reason.
And if PJ Tucker is your best defender,
he was trying to guard Steph in the fourth quarter, but Steph was already.
I was going to say, I don't know if
it was too late.
He could match up against Steph, but there's a chance that he could match up against Klay. But if he wasn't on Klay Thompson, then what are you doing on defense?
Yeah, Klay got going in the first quarter. It really looked like they didn't do much to stop it because he got it going again later in the second half. They put PJ Tucker on Steph once he starts to hit a few shots. At that point, Steph is too quick for him. Steph is too skilled for him. All it takes is a few threes to know that nobody's guarding him at this point.
And the problem with PJ Tucker is he does move his feet really well, but when you're a shooter like Steph Curry, you have to have length. PJ Tucker isn't very long.
And not only is Steph the most elite shooter in almost league history, pretty much, he's so shifty, and we've talked about how underrated he is going to the lane. There were times where he just got past the Rocket. There was a point in the fourth quarter where Steph got past, I can't even remember if it was PJ Tucker or not from the highlights, but he got past his defender, dribbled to the lane, nobody crashed to the rim, wide open layup. Next possession, three, gets past him again, another layup, like no resistance, double the offense, no defense, Mark D'Antoni.
Yeah, and I think another big factor for Houston was that Clint Capella was kind of nothing. Like, I mean, he had some decent games, but nowhere near how he was playing early on in the season, where he was like averaging almost 20 and 15 a game. I know he got hurt and he got banged up a little bit, but you would have expected by now that he would have been able to play at the same level that he was before, at least.
You would, but I think honestly, in games like this type of game where Kevin Durant is out and the Warriors come in basically with a new game plan, even though the Rockets have seen them without KD before, but it's how do you adjust instantly to this, especially with Mark D'Antoni as your head coach,
Right.
to where Steph and Klay, if they get hot from outside, what is Clint Capella supposed to do in the paint?
Right.
And it's not like he's guarding a guy that they're going to shove the ball to down low. If they give it to Draymond down low, odds are they're going to run a quick little play to get somebody open in the corner. They're just going to keep moving the ball. Clint Capella's almost useless. And when they keep moving the ball, Clint Capella's moving around. Somebody might get open in the paint or there's an open three. Yeah.
The other big factor, too, Eric Gordon was terrible in the last game.
Nowhere to be seen.
He had some good games early on in the series, but to come up short, Game 6, it's not going to help your team. Warriors are moving on.
Warriors
Surprise.
are moving on, and the Rockets I don't know where they're going.
They're once again have fallen short.
They lost at home, so they're not going home.
And they probably are done. I think the Rockets, just mentally, I think have been broken down by the Warriors. Like, if they would have won it this year, they would have been like, okay, we got over the hump. We made it past the fluke last season where we had the best chance, and then they overcame it. But they didn't. That didn't happen. The Warriors are moving on. Warriors reign supreme. Rockets might have to blow it up.
Yeah, and I think it's not only the Warriors, it's the fact that if James Harden doesn't reevaluate the way he plays basketball, he will never get past the Western Conference Final or Eastern Conference Final or any final in his career, because they're at a point where he's listed as the point guard, but the offense literally, it goes through him at all times. And especially in these playoffs, their offense has been so stagnant because it's give the ball to James and everybody just stand and watch.
Yep.
They're not running sets. There are times where they move the ball very well. If they get an open three, they just chuck it. But it's James figure it out. That's basically been their offense. And it's clear that CP3 isn't the same player he was a year ago. Age is finally starting to hit him. Yeah, they're not the same team. They were a better team last year.
Right.
And yeah, I don't see how Daryl Morey has a rough stretch of years coming up, because I don't see what type of team you build around James Harden for him to win. Because if he keeps playing like this, even though he's one of the best players in the NBA, I don't see how you win a championship the way he plays. Because if he's off, or he's just like not into the game,
Then the team has no rhythm.
that none whatsoever.
Yep.
None.
Yes.
It's a problem.
It's hard to just pick up your offense and go. If you don't get your teammates involved and they're not in the flow of the game and it's just you, it's really hard to get them going, because they're just like, pass it to you, and they don't get comfortable. They don't get in a rhythm.
Clint Capella might be the only person that constantly moves, and his moving is consistent to move around the paint or run up for a pick.
Right.
Everybody else is move a few steps over or literally just stand there until they get open for a three.
Right, and that's more for the fact that he's kind of that rim runner, and he gets most of his points off moving around, getting rebounds, getting putbacks.
Exactly.
So that just fits into his game, so it comes naturally. Whereas guards and things, they can't do that. They need spot up shots and sometimes a little bit of creativity. But when James Harden holds the ball for 20 odd seconds in a possession, and then he throws it at the last second or something, if he can't get something, you're in trouble, because you're going to get bad looks almost every time.
And the worst part is that CP3 had his best game in Game 6.
Yeah, he finally showed up. Most of the series, people were kind of complaining, saying that, if they lose, it's because of CP3. Well, in Game 6, he showed up. He played great. There was just nobody else. I mean, if you look at James Harden's stat line outside of his field goal percentage, it looked like a pretty good game. But as soon as you look at the field goal percentage, you realize, he shot way too many shots, didn't make enough.
3 or 4 turnovers in crunch time.
Yep.
Just silly turnovers.
Yeah, and I don't know how he's going to change that, because that's just how he's played.
Exactly.
So it'll be interesting to see where the Rockets go from here. Probably see something happen in the offseason. I don't know what, but I'm just thinking, they might try to go for something maybe a little outlandish. We'll see. On to the next game. Let's talk about the Blazers and Nuggets, Game 7.
This game was
the
amazing.
nightcap, Game 7. And I was impressed by the Blazers. Early on, I think the Nuggets had their number. And then all of a sudden, it seemed like Denver's youth out of nowhere showed up. They let the Blazers back in it. And then CJ McCollum took over in the second half.
I said last week, somebody needs to have a down year, because CJ McCollum, he has to make an all-star team. He's ridiculous right now.
Yeah, he's going to be similar, I think, to Damian Lillard, his teammate, where it's going to be really hard for him to make an all-star team because of the position that he plays. But if you just look at his numbers and some of his impact, he definitely deserves it.
There no 2 guards are playing higher at the level he's playing at in the West. He's the only person that's consistently been at this level and has just been attacking nonstop. Even though he's a defensive liability at times, he's such a force on offense that you can't deny him. You just can't. And yeah, watching them play is fantastic. It really is.
I think the craziest thing too about that game is that Damian Lillard didn't need to have a big game. He struggled throughout the entire game.
That's the most positive part of all of it.
He hit a couple clutch shots towards the end that kind of sealed the deal. He got close to a triple-double, I believe. Had like 8 rebounds and 9 assists or something. Maybe even double-digit assists. So overall, he played pretty good, but they're not Damian Lillard numbers. And for them to win without him having a best game in a Game 7 like that, I think that bodes well for the Blazers. And it shows that they have a lot of depth.
More depth than anybody expected.
Yeah. And
he's really. How about Zach Collins playing
but
as well as he's been playing?
That was something that I had said before when Nurkic went down, is that I felt like Cantor was such a good move for them. And they have all these weird role players that just fit so perfectly. Evan Turner, Al-Farouq Aminu, like you said, Zach Collins has come up big. I like the way he plays.
Even
I
though,
love watching shot blockers.
to me, Evan Turner has been a shell of himself since he
yeah,
got to Portland.
he's obviously
But, yeah,
struggled at times a lot, but just
he's
being
doing
able
enough.
to be able to have a guy that can handle the ball like he does
Yeah.
when CJ and Dame go out is a really nice addition for that team. And yeah, like you said, they're a lot deeper than people expect or realize. Rodney Hood revitalizing his career after what I thought was pretty much just a Cleveland thing.
Yeah, that's what it looks like at this point. Just
Yeah.
Cleveland killing some players.
Playing with LeBron didn't help.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
not necessarily LeBron's fault, I guess, but that's just
When
sometimes
you,
what
when
happens.
you play with LeBron, you have to play a certain way, and that doesn't fit for certain people.
Right. And Rodney Hood can now be himself. So we're going to get a Blazers Warriors Western Conference Finals.
Listen, Seth versus Steph. Seth Curry's gonna make a lot of money this summer. I hope people
Yeah,
realize that.
he definitely will.
Yeah, he's a lights out shooter. Come on, Pistons, get Seth Curry. Even though it probably won't happen.
I was going to say he might go for more than the mid-level at this point. But I don't know. What do you expect out of the Warriors and the Blazers?
I'm expecting a competitive series, really.
You think so?
Anything but I would be so disappointed because the way the Blazers, every player on that team has stepped up when they needed to. I really can't put into words how impressed I am with how they've been. Like you said, just the rebirth of Rodney Hood. Not even really a rebirth. It's just that he's comfortable playing within himself again, like he was in Utah.
Right.
Yeah, when Dame Lillard isn't playing good, guys step up. They still have like 3 or 4 guys on the bench that don't play at all, but they still have enough depth to get it done. Enes
Right.
Kanter has been dealing with an injury. He still plays as hard as anybody in the playoffs. And people need to pay attention to how good Enes Kanter really has been the past few years because
Oh, yeah. For
whatever
sure.
team picks him up, he produces instantly and has monster games a lot. It's going to be really interesting about him. I heard earlier today, if the Blazers make it to the finals, and if they play Toronto, Enes Kanter might not be able to play
Really?
because of his international problems.
Oh.
Yeah, with his home country and him
Right.
not being safe. So yeah, they're trying to figure things out with that, and that would be insane if something like that happened. That'd be the first time,
Yeah.
maybe the only time something like that ever happens in the NBA. But if this series doesn't go at least 6, I'll be very disappointed. CJ and Dame they're not afraid of Steph and Clay. They probably won't be able to stop Steph and Clay on a regular basis, but Steph and Clay probably won't be able to stop them either.
Yeah.
They'll just be going at it all series. Al-Farouq Aminu and Mo Harkless will try their hardest with KD, but we know
If KD plays,
if
he's out for game 1.
which is another thing.
He's already out
If
for
the
game
Blazers
1.
steal this game 1, things get really, really interesting. I honestly hope they steal this game 1.
Yeah, game 1, Kevin Durant is out. And most likely he's out for game 2. They haven't ruled it out yet, but most likely. That'll be interesting. I think these are 2 of the best two best backcourts
In the league.
in the league,
Yeah.
and they're going to go against each other.
Must see TV.
It's going to be so exciting. I'm really excited. Especially, honestly, I'm more excited with KD being out just because it then focuses just on that matchup.
Honestly, I agree 100% with you. That's why in the offseason, when KD eventually leaves, as everybody expects, I'm so excited to see Steph and Clay as the Splash Brothers and the guys on that team again. Just to see it go back to the way it was before, to see how they adjust to that again. And seeing them like this now, it's so many great storylines. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I think it's going to kind of remind people that they are the Splash Brothers. They don't necessarily need Kevin Durant. Obviously, he's the big old cherry on top.
Exactly.
But they're just as good as he is, honestly, at times. Obviously, not as consistent, but I still think, and I've said it a couple times, when Steph Curry gets hot, he lights a crowd like no other player in
Yes.
the league.
He shuts a crowd down like no other player, and he lights up a home court like no other player. The way I've seen him shut down crowds in the playoffs in the regular season, I love seeing him play away and just go off because it's different seeing the type of stuff he does.
Yeah, I'm excited for this matchup. Should be good. On to the matchup that we previewed with our intro. Raptors Sixers Game 7. As we've said, Kawhi Leonard with not one, not two, but 3 bounces off the rim and in. The first and second only closeout game winner at the buzzer.
Exactly.
Who's the other person that got that game winner, you say, with a buzzer beater?
The GOAT, the
A
real
young
GOAT.
Michael Jordan.
Exactly.
A very famous shot over Craig Elo. And Kawhi Leonard now joins Michael Jordan. Only a few days after Max Kellerman somewhat embarrassed himself on ESPN First Take, saying that Kawhi is more clutch than Kobe Bryant.
He still doesn't get credit because of that shot.
I agree. I agree, but it's just funny how it works that way.
Also, Skip Bayless is bitter and says that shot is nothing but luck.
I slightly agree.
That shot is not.
I slightly agree.
100% luck.
Only because,
of course, because the bounce, people say the shot is luck.
Oh, I don't even say necessarily the bounce, because I'm a big believer in shooter's touch. Big believer in that. But for it to bounce once, hit just the front of the rim, or from the side, hit on the inside of the rim just enough to turn that backspin into a little bit of topspin to kind of set it off, and then bounce again, bounce to the other side, and then in.
Okay, that
I'm questioning it.
That bounce is a miracle for him and the Raptors, but he said in the post game he practices that shot leaning out of bounds.
Oh, I bet.
All the time. He's shot that shot all season because he has to get used to being in uncomfortable situations. So he practices that shot all the time. Joel Embiid, 7'1", 7'2". He had to adjust his shot. His shot is usually a line drive, not a lot of arc on it. So he saw Joel coming. He knew he had to put arc on it. Put it on there. He has the shooter's touch.
Right.
So even though it was one of the luckiest bounces ever, I'm not surprised he got the bounce because he's used to taking that type of shot, and he put the right type of arc on it to get it over Joel.
And sometimes I think, when somebody closes out, it's going to force you to shoot a higher arc. And sometimes that can help with your shot because obviously the higher the arc, the bigger the basket technically is.
Exactly.
Blah, 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 logistics.
But I think if he shot at line drive, it
Right,
either would have airballed or just bounced right off the
If he shot his
front of the
normal
rim.
shot, it might have just knocked off the front of the rim and down and missed. Whereas Joel Embiid put a hand up, forced him to shoot a little bit higher, almost too high perhaps, but it kind of helped him out. And like you said, I think people kind of don't realize I'm not saying it's an easy shot, but these guys practice these kind of shots all the time. And when you're younger, you're always taught, make sure that your feet and your shoulders are lined up with the basket. But as you get older and you get stronger, you don't need your feet to be aimed towards the basket or anything. As long as your shoulders are square to the basket, you know that you can get a ball up. And that's something that a lot of shooters make sure is as long as you're doing a turnaround fade, as long as you have your shoulders squared to the basket, it's really not that hard. It feels like a normal shot, especially for those guys doing it all the time, practicing like that, lots of high pressure situations. And because of the athleticism in the NBA, you got to be able to shoot kind of funky shots sometimes. And obviously, like I said, it's a hard shot for sure. But at the same time, it's something that a lot of these guys can do, and you don't really realize it, I guess.
Great players hit those types of shots.
Right.
Kobe Bryant has hit so many weird buzzer beaters and weird clutch shots in his career, but he's been in so many situations. It's weird to me that fans act like players don't practice crunch time scenarios and they don't practice hard shot making. Because like you said, that is essential to being a great NBA player. If you can't hit tough shots, then there are going to be times where you can't pull out games, and there are going to be times where you can't elevate yourself to the next level of being all-time great. So, I completely believe Kawhi. We've seen him take that type of shot before. Obviously, yeah, like you said, not that type of difficulty where it's a 7-footer and he has to put that type of arc and he's almost falling out of bounds. But this is something guys do. From the time you're a kid, you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You lean, you do different types of shots at the buzzer. It's something people do. You have to raise the level of that once you get to the NBA and make sure you get more precise at those types of scenarios. So it's a great shot. Kawhi is elevating himself to a level I think people aren't comfortable with, honestly, because I think people are elevating Giannis to the next face of the NBA and the next guy. You can't put Kawhi Leonard out of that conversation because the way he's having an all-time great playoff run right now. He's playing like most all-time greats haven't played. And it's almost like people are somewhat ignoring it and still saying, but look at Giannis. Look at what he's doing. It's kind of, like I said, it's kind of weird. People need to pay just as much attention to Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, I think it's something that, people have put into the wayside after somewhat of the Kawhi drama with the Spurs.
Exactly. I also think it's because of his demeanor.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk much. He's not a personable guy.
He had been in talks as a top 5 player. And then all of a sudden, as of recently, it seems like, people kind of just set him aside and be like, he's in Toronto. He'll do some things.
Yeah.
And they're not like taking notice, which, I mean, to be honest, I sort of did that a little bit. I kind of pushed Kawhi to the side. But as soon as I've seen him play recently in the playoffs, he's, like I said last week, I think he just barely has surpassed Kevin Durant this playoffs.
Yeah, in terms of playoff players, he's number one.
The best playoff player in this playoffs, which has been a very good playoffs to top it off.
FYI, I'm pulling up the draft lottery as we speak.
Because I can't log into my ESPN account, so I can't do it. I've been trying to do it.
Pulling it up on my phone right now.
As you've been seeing me pop back and forth. Malik, do you have a headphone jack on your phone?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes.
Here, so then we're gonna plug this in. Are you gonna be able to pull up the video?
I have to take my case off to get this in here.
Okay. So while Malik does that, what do you think?
You want me to plug it in now, or
yeah, go for it. I won't turn it on yet.
Okay.
But as long as you have it on, and then just kind of let me know when lottery starts. What do you make of this Eastern Conference Finals? Bucks, who haven't been there since 2001, and the Raptors, who haven't been there since I can't remember. Few years ago, right?
Yeah.
Embarrassingly losing to LeBron by a lot. But it's interesting because, like we've said, sort of like the Western side, where it's been two of the better Western league backcourts. Now we're looking on the Eastern side, two of the best players in this playoffs, in Kawhi and Giannis. And they're probably going to guard each other, which is even more exciting because they're both really good defenders. And Kawhi has the offensive advantage, obviously. I don't know who to take. I'll be honest. We already know Chris is going to take the Bucks. He's been riding that wave since the get-go.
That's a short. He might go for a sweep,
but
he's going with the Chris take.
There's something about the Raptors, and I don't know why.
Listen, man, the way the team has been playing around Kawhi the past few games, I don't have a lot of confidence in them as a whole right now because they still move the ball, they still move it very well, but in the past few games, and maybe it's just because of Game 6, Game 7, Pascal Siakam isn't very experienced in the playoffs. Fred VanVleet isn't very experienced. Kyle Lowry is Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
So they're a lot of times, especially in that Game 7, they aren't ready for that big of the spotlight. We move the ball around, we get good ball movement, but we still need to get the ball to Kawhi. So maybe it's just because of that that he was the one that was most ready for the spotlight, and they needed him to get it done, like most superstars do. But the Raptors need to come out strong in this series. They really do. Pascal Siakam needs to go back to being aggressive. Kyle Lowry needs to play smart, even if his shots still aren't falling. Take your open shots. Play smart. I think Serge Ibaka needs to chill. This season, I really enjoyed watching him in the regular season because he's been playing like he was playing like OKC Serge Ibaka. He was focusing more on defense. He wasn't
Right.
taking as many threes and just focusing on being a more offensive guy. But in these playoffs, it seems like he's trying to put it on his shoulders with like Pascal Siakam isn't ready. I need to be the guy that takes the shots.
Pascal Siakam is ready.
I think he will be in this game one. I also think they need to give more touches to Marc Gasol. They've kind of made him just
No, I
a
agree.
3-and-D guy, and I think he needs some touches down low, especially against Brook Lopez, who isn't the greatest defender. Marc Gasol can be a really good matchup in this series. The Bucks are playing so good right now. They're in such a flow. Their chemistry is at an all-time high, and Giannis is playing at an MVP level. I really can't call it right now.
And both
I
teams
can't call it.
both teams are really deep too. I
Exactly.
think that's the crazy thing.
And they're deep in different ways, which is also interesting.
Right. Especially with the way, like we talked about, Pascal Siakam is kind of molded into the player that he is.
Yeah.
Whereas like previous years, the Raptors were like highly regarded for the guards that they had and their guard depth. They got rid of a little bit of that, but I finally logged in. But now like they have a whole different dynamic, like you said. Like they have more depth at the big. Pascal Siakam, Marc Gasol, Serge Ibaka, things like that. Whereas the Bucks are such a mixed bag of pieces, and they're a little bit more guard depth, I guess, with Brogdon being back, also having Eric Bledsoe, Chris Middleton, your guy Pat Connaughton. He's played well.
He's playing beyond anything I expected.
It'll be cool to see two like old style bigs that have developed into new style bigs.
Completely changed the game.
With Marc Gasol and Brook Lopez, both at one point being very dominant centers, and now chucking threes. I still don't know who to take. I want this series to go 7.
Exactly. Milwaukee, their depth is basically shooters, which is insane because forming a team like that seems very hard. The Rockets have almost had a team like that last year where it was James Harden and shooters, and it almost worked, but they're the Rockets, so it didn't work. Yeah, coming off the bench, you have all 3-point gunners and guys that are willing to just play well together. Also, George Hill is playing really good basketball. I don't think people are really noticing that.
Yeah, I think ever since his missed free throw.
Yeah, and then with Toronto, they have depth in terms of defensive play and just like very smart, hard play. From their starting 5 to their 8th or 9th player, they lock down and they just play hard defense. They make it tough for you to get easy baskets, and they did that very well in the last few games against Philadelphia. These conference finals, this is exactly what I hoped for with LeBron not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
These are the types of series I was hoping to see. And seeing that the Trailblazers are actually deep in a really good team that could contest the Warriors makes it even better.
Yeah, and we've been talking about it a lot off the air about this could be one of the best playoff series, playoffs in general, in a long time. Just overall. Granted, maybe the first round was a little rough, not so great. But this last round has been incredible. And I can just hope that these two conference finals are going to be just as good. And that I am actually starting to think that potentially we could see the Warriors go down. Obviously, I think a lot of it hinges on Durant's health. But I think there's a possibility. There's a good possibility that somebody could take the Warriors down. I don't know who, though. I've been a big fan of the Warriors, but I actually am on board with the Blazers winning this series. But I think the Warriors are going to win it in 5. And I hate to say it.
I can't get mad at you for for going with that, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Warriors in 6.
All right.
Honestly, I think
I would much rather have that for sure.
Yeah, I think KD is going to come back in a few games, and I think
That's kind of my fear too, is that he's going to figure out how to tough it out. And once you have that, I don't know, that's kind of demoralizing almost for the Blazers. Raptors, Bucks. I'm going to go with.
I'm going Bucks.
So you're going with Chris. Okay.
I'm going Bucks in 5.
Wow. I mean, man, that wouldn't surprise me though either.
I let me rethink that. All that I just said about Toronto's defense.
Yeah. Because the Bucks are gonna need somebody to step up.
They are.
And we've kind of seen Pascal Siakam step up a little bit for the Raptors. I still think the Raptors still need more help, but they seem to have a better secondary star at the moment. Now, if Chris Middleton plays out of his mind, the Bucks will get it, but I'm not sure. I'm going with
Bucks in 6.
Yeah,
Bucks
I
in
feel like
6.
I have to go Bucks in 6 too. I don't know. The Raptors have looked too shaky at times, and I'm just not 100% sure.
I'm not sure if it's just the lack of experience and them needing to go to Kawhi, or them really just not being ready for the moment.
Right. All right.
Hard to tell.
It looks like we have
Things are getting started.
the draft lottery starting.
Exactly.
And that's really big because Zion Williamson
Mark Tatum coming to the stage,
is looking to be the number 1 overall pick. So this is basically the draft lottery for Zion Williamson.
Thank you very much, Rachel.
Oh my gosh. I'm actually nervous. This is fun though, doing it live.
Chances the Pistons get a top 5 pick.
Stop it.
All right, this was originally Sacramento's pick, but it goes to Boston. If the pick had been number 1
So Boston is
overall, would've
14.
been Philadelphia, but Celtics, you've got it.
So, a team that's already good, getting a lottery pick, that's pretty good.
The Miami Heat.
The Miami Heat received the 13th pick. I don't really know if that moved them up or down. I should have pulled the list of
The
odds.
Charlotte Hornets.
So once again, Charlotte Hornets. I think they were 11 last year.
In the draft
Now they're
will go
12.
to The Minnesota Timberwolves.
Minnesota Timberwolves
Wow, that
potentially
means the
getting
Los
another.
Angeles Lakers have moved up Kyle Kuzma's lucky jacket.
The Lakers are moving up, Malik. It's happening.
Don't say that.
The Lakers are
don't say
moving
that.
up.
Wow,
Stop.
this is
Kyle
gonna get
Kuzma is
interesting.
going to be their lucky charm.
Pick number 10 will
The
be
Lakers.
made by the Atlanta Hawks.
All
The
right,
Hawks moved
so the pick
down.
goes to Atlanta due to the
Please don't
Luka
do this,
Doncic
NBA.
trade.
The
Hawks are
Last
10.
year's draft. Had the pick
I don't
gone
want
into
this.
The top
I-
4 would have stayed with Dallas, but sorry, Cynthia, we got to give the pick up to Jamie Gertz.
I don't think that was
The ninth
very
pick
likely to
goes to
happen.
The Washington Wizards.
The Wizards are 9, Malik.
I'm happy they're
This
not
means
in the
the
top.
Grizzlies
Oh my
moved up.
god.
We have a double jump, Woj.
And this was
Do not
the
put- do
flattening
not
of
put
the
Atlanta in
lottery
the top
odds.
five,
We were going to see
man.
more action like this.
The 8th pick will be made by the Atlanta Hawks.
The Hawks are the 8th pick, Malik. The Lakers are
That means
moving
that
up
New
the
Orleans
board.
has moved up. We
New
have
Orleans,
chaos
though.
Here, people. Absolute
New Orleans, people.
chaos.
New Orleans.
Dave, you're supposed to look more excited, David Griffin.
This is not good.
So the top 4 picks are
The
the
7th pick
Lakers,
belongs
Grizzlies,
to
and Pelicans.
The Chicago Bulls.
Wow. So just so everybody knows, the
So we
the
know
lottery
what Chicago
changed
will
their
be drafting
odds
now.
this year, I believe.
All
and it's
right,
already
That
crazy.
means the Lakers,
God.
Grizzlies, and Pelicans have moved up. 2 more to go.
Wow.
Pick number 6 goes to the Phoenix Suns.
They were they had a number 1 chance.
Oh my god.
And the Suns have
average of New
fallen
Orleans
to
up that high.
6.
David Griffin's looking for someone to play with.
They were looking to draft Ja Morant.
1 more.
They aren't getting him anymore.
And the 5th pick will be made by the Cleveland Cavaliers.
So the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Those are
have
2 of the number 1 options.
Number 1 pick in 9 years. They won't be
Man,
getting there,
listen.
but it does mean that
If the Knicks are fourth, I will
Patrick
die.
Ewing, you're moving on to the next round.
The Lakers are about to get the
Here
first
is the
pick.
draft party in New York. I think they're going to
The
be happy,
top
guys.
four
Look,
picks
Steven, what do
are
you think
the
when it flashes
Lakers,
to the screen?
Grizzlies,
I'm guessing
Pelicans,
happy.
and Suns.
There we go.
The Lakers are getting the first
Stop
pick.
filming yourself.
The
You're
Knicks
about
out
to
of these
get
top
a
four
pick in the
have the
draft,
highest
whoever it is. It's gonna be exciting.
chance.
If the Lakers
Coming
aren't
up,
four,
the
I swear.
drama
I
is
think the
going
Lakers
to continue.
going into
Patrick
it-
Ewing is cool as a cucumber, but we're not, because the top 4 picks of the 2019 draft will be revealed.
Oh,
And they're going to a break after that.
they usually do.
Okay, so we'll come back to that in a minute. But are you kidding me?
Is that Phoenix 7?
They were 6th?
Atlanta 8?
What is going on? The Cleveland is 5. I think it's
Cleveland
Cleveland.
5.
Cleveland was 5. Phoenix was 7 or 6.
This
And
new
those
system,
were those
man.
were 2 of the teams that had the highest chance at the number 1, and now they have to completely change their game plan. They're not getting.
I'm kind of dumbfounded right now. Wow.
We had
I'm
pointed
so
to the
confused.
Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns really need a point guard,
Yes.
and John Morant was going to be the perfect fit for them. They're not getting him.
Listen, now they have to figure out a way to get either Kobe White or Darius Garland. They
Yeah.
have to figure out a way to. I think them getting Darius Garland would still be a good move. He's kind of more of a fit of the point guards of today. Really good 3-point shooting, really good feel for the game. Wow.
This is already crazy because, like
Yeah.
I said, the draft lottery has changed. They changed a lot of the odds. The top 3 teams going into it had a 14% chance, and then I think the next team had about 12 or 10% or something like that. Don't quote me. And then it fell, and then basically the last 4 or 5 teams all had a 1% chance. And now, I think the Lakers were 9th going into it. Going into this draft, I think the Lakers were seeded
Please don't give the
9th or
Lakers the
10th
top
or
3
something like
pick.
that. And
Please
they
don't
even
give the
kind of
Lakers
mentioned
the
it. If the Lakers get the number 1 seed, is the NBA rigged?
Don't get yes. The NBA is rigged if the Lakers get the top pick.
I want the Pelicans.
The NBA does not want the Lakers in turmoil. Oh my god!
If the Pelicans get the number 1 pick, they keep
the
Anthony
sign to
Davis.
New Orleans.
They keep Anthony Davis. That is an awesome lineup. Alfred Payton, Drew Holiday,
This is
Zion
nuts.
Williamson, Julius Randle, Anthony Davis. Back on the Pelicans train.
Where's the shooting? But we'll figure that
It's
out.
yeah, we'll
we'll
figure it
that
out.
out.
Anthony Davis is a shooter.
That's all you go. Alfred Payton at point guard.
Drew Holiday does his thing.
That's all you got.
Zion.
That's all you got.
Zion's insane.
Zion
Anthony-
will figure it out.
Anthony Davis is insane.
Listen, man.
That would make things so interesting for the Pelicans, though.
Come on, Knicks, number 1 pick. I need Knicks 1, Pelicans 2, Grizzlies 3.
That's actually-
Lakers 4.
That's another crazy thing. Is if the Grizzlies get this,
The Pelicans are getting a top 4 pick. That's crazy.
I know. But the Grizzlies, nobody ever talks about the Grizzlies. And they could potentially get a number 1 pick here. Even the top 2, like at top 3. Because I think the 4th is where it starts to be like a little bit of a question mark. But the top 3 are almost locked in. I think a couple people think that RJ Barrett may not go 3. But there's a lot of people that definitely want him to be 3.
You're plugged into the computer, right?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can turn yours off. I finally got it to work on the computer.
Yeah, mine was a little behind the audio. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no. I just played on this. But
Man. Actually, I'm going to keep this on. I want to see the reactions.
yeah, I mean, go for it. I don't know what the Grizzlies do because
The Grizzlies have Jaren Jackson. They have some solid young assets.
I mean, I think if you get 1, they go Zion. But if they're
Yeah.
number 2 or so, man,
Zion to
a
Memphis would be
a
something
point guard
nobody
would
ever
actually be a
expected.
big thing for them because they've looked into trading Mike Conley. That would make it a lot easier.
I forgot about the Mike Conley factor.
Maybe it'd make it a lot easier for the Pistons to get Mike Conley. We can keep that dream alive. We'll let Chris talk about on that next week.
Coming back in.
Oh, here we go.
You're good? Oh, he's good.
All right. So we'll kind of keep talking over it like we did before to just get ready. But we have the top 4 picks. Like we said, the Lakers, Knicks, Pelicans, and Grizzlies.
Kyle Kuzma.
The Lakers,
that purple jacket.
The Lakers brought their young talent.
Those Sox were lucky. And the Pelicans, David Griffin. And representing the Knicks.
I thought Elliot Perry was Jamal Crawford.
Come on, man.
We are down to
I thought that was Jamal Crawford. I was so confused.
Come on.
Commissioner Mark Tatum to steal
All
the
right.
fans' fade up here.
So now we can figure out where
God.
Zion, the Zion Williamson dilemma
The league is rigged.
all over.
NBA draft goes to the Los
Okay, we're
Angeles
good.
Lakers.
We're saved. The Lakers are 4. The Lakers are
The
4.
third pick
All right.
goes to
The Pelicans.
Grizzlies.
the New York Knicks.
The Knicks fans everywhere. Stephen Smith is crying. Stephen A. Smith is crying right now.
The Grizzlies and the
The
Pelicans
second
get the
pick
first.
will be made by
The Pelicans.
the Memphis.
The Pelicans are number 1. The Pelicans did it.
Number 1 pick
Pelicans fans everywhere.
Orleans.
I shout to you.
goes to the New Orleans Pelicans.
That is
Zion
insane.
to New Orleans with Anthony.
All right, barring a trade, New Orleans will pick first overall for just the
Anthony
second
Davis
time
can
in
stay.
franchise history. New
Anthony
Orleans
Davis can
selected
stay in New
Anthony
Orleans.
Davis with the top pick back in 2012.
Zion
Davis
to New
asked
Orleans.
For a trade, but I don't know, guys. Now Zion Williamson might be coming to
This-
town. Look how happy
This changes
I like-
everything.
I like this new draft lottery.
And David Griffin is the new VP. How excited is he?
Congratulations, David. You
Oh
look
my
pretty happy.
God.
I see you're holding something. Can we just
Wait,
walk
which
me through this?
WNBA player is that?
We did a contest.
That's
in New
Maria Taylor.
Orleans. One of our
She's a-
particular
Oh,
players,
yeah, yeah,
Honey
yeah.
Halfin,
Okay.
gave us this. This is her
Making
lucky
David
angel.
Griffin look
That's a
short.
56-year-old wooden angel.
Zion
And
to
when
New
Cleveland won in
Orleans.
2014, I had my
All right.
grandmother's angel.
We'll
Now
get
I
out
gotta
of
start texting people.
we'll get out of ESPN here. I don't know. That's
my
it for the
God.
show today, boys and girls. I really don't even know how to wrap that up.
I don't know either.
I can't wait till we get Chris on next week and we can talk about all the craziness that just happened. But I love the new draft lottery.
This is fantastic. I'm just texting people now. I'm
Like I
shocked.
said, the Grizzlies now can get Ja Morant and they can move on from Mike Conley. And they have Jaren Jackson, guys like Dylan Brooks that they like. And Zion Williamson, most likely barring some crazy trade, which could still happen because of the Anthony Davis stuff. Maybe some craziness trade comes in. I don't know. But I feel like you'd want to stick to your Zion guts at this point. And the Pelicans getting the number 1 overall pick is huge. And I don't know what else to say.
We're just gonna have to pick this up next week.
Yeah,
we will just be speechless. For
We
the
need
rest
to
of this
kind of
thing.
talk about it and think it over. Malik, you got any last words to say to the people after this craziness that just happened? This is why Chris needed to be here. I knew something crazy was going to happen. I don't know if I thought it was going to be that crazy. I'm excited to be a Pelicans fan again. That's for sure.
Now we just go home and watch this playoff game, I guess.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll be back on the airwaves next week. We'll have to figure this out. It's going to take a lot of time, but we'll see you next time.
Oh boy.